Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm speaking with you from Miami. We just finished the first day of our annual conference, CybersParX.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, lots of terrific guests and speakers. We just had Nikesh Arora from Palo Alto Networks, Joe Kurt, CEO of CrowdStrike.
We love George.
Gili Raanan, my friend, from Sequoia Capital.
It's a royal flush.
The founders of Wiz, a small company that you might heard of, just completed a tiny acquisition last week.
Yeah. Congratulations to you on that one.
Yeah.
Great outcome. Yeah. What are people talking about? What is top of mind for everybody at the event?
Well, the whole idea of CybersParX is to bring together the top 300 leaders in cybersecurity. So you've got here about 100 executives, CEOs and founders of the top cybersecurity companies in the world, and the top practitioners, chief information security officers of Fortune 500 companies. And the whole idea is to work together and talk about what's next and how we can work together in order to deal with what's upcoming. And there's lots of risk and, an expanding threat vector. You probably talk a lot about artificial intelligence and the new capabilities that it brings in your show. But with every technology wave, think about internet, think about cloud. There are new risks introduced. So we kind of spent a couple of days together to talk about, the future of cybersecurity.
Do you think there's more fear or excitement around the technology shift? Because there's obviously this new kind of new threat vector, but at the same time that creates opportunity for the industry, for product expansion, and so it's go time from a business standpoint to kind of meet the threat, but also, I'm sure some people in the room are a little bit scared of what's coming.
I think there's mostly uncertainty about where this thing is going. What we've seen in the past 12 months is accelerating, and there are so many things that we simply don't know. I wish I could stand here and give you all the answers, but in the room, we had a lot of conversation around the uncertainty on one hand, and the pressing need to make some decisions about safeguards to make sure that, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator movie, doesn't become a mild story relative to the reality in 10 years. And I think that what we are going through right now, I call it, technological doubling. If you think about technology used by us as a race, as human, and you think about, what we have today as the 100%, and let's say the zero is the invention of writing, like 4,000 years ago, when we lived in caves and started to write in order to accumulate knowledge so we can build tools, then the 50% is probably at the point in time of the invention of the steam engine, which allow us to build machines that would perform tasks too difficult for men. So the last doubling took 170 years. The next doubling would take place in the next 25 years. That means that all of us, all the three of us and everybody who listened to or watched the show are the first people that would witness technology doubling within their lifespan. Mm-hmm. That never happened.
That's the acceleration.
No living person have seen doubling of technology. And you know what? When you just follow the curve, the curve I just described to you, that means that in, 25 years we'll be at 200%, but in 100 years, we'll be at 2,000%. This is just math. It's not a prediction. This is just following the math, meaning that people that would live 100 years from now would look at our technology in a very same perspective. We look at the technology used by our ancestors living in a cave, drawing something on a wall. That's exactly the same. So we are going through a radical change in technology that we have never experienced, and that would require dramatically different type of thinking about, safeguarding the new capabilities. So, because this is enormous opportunity ahead of us, AI would change everything about healthcare. It would change everything about education. So there's an enormous opportunity conditioning under the condition that we can control it and that we are not losing control. So that was the core of the conversation.
Yeah.
Very cool.
What is the shape of the cybersecurity threat landscape right now? It feels like there's entirely new capabilities. When I think about like a phishing attack with a deep faked voice on the phone, that's like, I guess you could get an impersonator, but it's sort of a new threat area. But then there's also just like hammering a coding model to spam a whole bunch of like SQL queries or SQL injections, like all the old stuff, but just multiplied. Like where are you seeing the biggest new threats emerge, or what are people discussing on that front?
It's all over the map just because of what you said, because it becomes very asymmetric, even more asymmetric than we used to see, because the guys on the offense, threat actors, they have a huge advantage because they can simply take code and just apply it for new attacks, while the pace of adoption of AI tools and machines for defenders within large organizations, within the enterprise, is significantly slower. So that makes that puts AI in the hands of the bad guys much faster than it puts it in the hands of the good guys. And if that would be the case for long, then the bad guys would win. And the bad guys today are really bad. You look at state sponsors attack and everything that's going on in the world, and that's a real risk.
Is there a bit of like a white pill here in the sense that because there's a lag between open source capabilities and proprietary systems, and then you also have the big frontier labs, DeepMind, OpenAI, Anthropic, like they're definitely running agents over their user bases and their APIs to know, hey, this person just spent $5 million on our API and it's all cyber attack related prompts. Like, let's maybe turn them off or figure out what's going on over there. They have a huge incentive to sort of, control their customer base so that their customer base is not using these tools maliciously. The hackers sort of wind up on the lagging edge, not on the frontier, but all of the cybersecurity companies like Palo Alto Networks, like CrowdStrike, like the folks that you've had at your conference, they maintain access to the frontier, and so they're always fighting with a bigger weapon. Is that sort of the equilibrium we should expect here?
That's a great question. And by the way, we did have today the two top cybersecurity experts at Anthropic, the head of security and the head of product security, sharing the roadmap and thoughts about the upcoming capabilities of Anthropic and other platforms. I think the answer to that is our continuous investment in innovation in the space. It's not just about Wiz that I mentioned, or Sierra. Those are large, established startups. But we did have one company going out of stealth last week, Onyx Security. All they do is agent security. We had today a major launch out of stealth for another company, Surf AI, which takes care of, leverages AI to complete tasks much faster for organizations. So there's definitely, there'll be a battle between machines that are used by threat actors and machines that are used by the good guys. And we obviously, our job in this world is to identify the best teams, the best talent, and help them build and utilize AI. So we live in a safer, better world, and that's the plan.
What's the general sentiment from guests around the actual competitive threat of the labs releasing various agents and security-focused products? Obviously, they feel threatened when they announce new products because they tend to send the stock price down, or they have over the last month. But is there a real sense that this is a threat? The labs could threaten their business models, or is it more just kind of frustration with how the market perceives the threat?
We always overestimate the impact of disruption in the short term, and we always underestimate it on the long term. So I think that what we would see here is that in the next 2 years, the frontier guys, they have different focus and different priorities. So their impact on cybersecurity companies would relatively be low. But in 5-7 years, I think that they have a chance to take over. And I think that we would see 3 cohorts, 3 groups of competitors. You'd see the traditional cybersecurity platforms, the Palo Alto, the Wiz, the CrowdStrike of the world. You'd see the cloud providers, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and there'll be a third group, which is the AI platforms. And, we shall see who would hold keys for cybersecurity. And, that's, if you ask me the same question 12 months ago, I would not even mention the third group. So it's really hard when technology moves at this space. It's really hard to make predictions. And I'm not afraid of making a fool of myself. I do that almost every day. But making predictions right now is guaranteed to make fool of yourself.
I was just going to ask you for another prediction, but I guess I'll table it for next time. Thank you so much for taking
I can share with you the predictions I made today in closed room.
Please.
But maybe I'll start with the predictions I made 12 months ago.
Sure.
12 months ago, I told the room that my prediction, and keep in mind it was really pre the big wave of AI. I told them that I expect to see $1 million ARR company, $1 million in revenues company with a single employee within 2 years.
Yeah.
And I told them that I expect to see $100 million revenue company with less than 100 employees within 2 years. I was wrong twice because those 2 things materialize in less than 12 months.
Much
we've seen Base 44 with one founder who reached $3.5 million ARR before acquired by Wix, and we have seen Cursor reaching $100 million of ARR with less than 20 employees.
Remarkable.
So things are accelerating, and therefore the predictions I made today were that I anticipate that we would see Fortune 100 company with a cybersecurity group of less than 10 employees. Keep in mind that today those companies employ thousands of employees. So I believe that we would see AI making huge impact on cybersecurity and would turn cybersecurity from a profession into function. That would be a major shift in the market.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well,
cool.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us, and we will
looking
talk
forward
to you
to
soon.
see how these predictions play out. And
My
we-
pleasure.
We
We
appreciate,
make
we
predictions
appreciate
all day
you
long.
risking it all to
We're
make
in
those
the
predictions.
random prediction, off the cuff business, and I completely agree with you. It's extremely hard to make predictions that hold for any amount of time right now, but it's an exciting time.
I love it. It's entertaining. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll
give
talk
our
to you
give our
soon.
best to everybody at the event. Great
We'll
to
talk
hang.
to you soon.
Gili.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Take care.
Goodbye.